We are live now. Just a few seconds to. We are live now. Okay. We are live. Okay, so we can start. If Kelvin or Kefe is there, you can.
Kelvin.
There is an echo. You have to mute one of your input. Okay.
I hear you now.
Yeah. That's good.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, well, this is a webinar in the frame of Space Renaissance Academy and Space Renaissance Africa and the OGBA Educational Clinic run by Kelvin Dafiaghor. And we will talk today with the students from Nigeria. Sorry, there is an echo. You have to, if you have an open window, you have to mute. You have to close the audio. Put the volume 0 on that window, because otherwise we have a repeat. Okay, that's fine. Okay, great. I hope so. Yeah. No, there's still something. Okay. May we go ahead? Maybe? Okay. So, I don't know if Kelvin wants to introduce the webinar. The floor is yours.
Hello, can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. I am Kelvin Dafiaghor, the founder of OGBA Educational Clinic. Promoter of artificial intelligence in Africa. The OGBA Educational Clinic is a STEM and AI-based clinic in rural Niger Delta of Nigeria, whose major goal is to decentralize STEM and artificial intelligence education to underserved communities in Africa. About a decade ago, we set up the Artificial Intelligence Hub to help young people to learn digital skills, especially in deep technology, foreign currencies abroad, just like their counterparts is doing in India. Our goal is to see that we discourage internet scam and internet betting by creating digital nomads that will be earning foreign currencies like Saudi Arabia is making. Let me leave it there and hand over. You should cite your biography again. Please forward it so that Mr. Enrique Faye, as the moderator, can go ahead and read your biography.
Hello. Kelvin, you still there? Okay, we have lost our connection, but I hope they will reconnect in few seconds. However, just to let understand what we are doing here, we are holding a webinar in connection with some students in Nigeria. And the title of this webinar is Why Go to Space? So we have a presentation of about 40 minutes about the main rationale that is behind expanding civilization into outer space. What are the real reasons to go there? So we're waiting now for Nigeria to come back in connection. There was some technical problem, likely. Hello? Hello?
Okay, can you hear us now?
Okay,
Yes.
that's go ahead, please.
On the video. Welcome. Welcome.
Okay, please, never mind about my bios.
Open door, make fresh air dey enter. Show who lock door.
Okay. I was saying, never mind about my bio. I will briefly introduce myself at the beginning. So go ahead.
Why you not going to talk?
Okay.
Yeah, we can hear
Okay,
you.
can you hear us now?
Okay, great. So what should we do now? You want to introduce the webinar or we would just to start?
Just start.
Just start. Some time has gone.
Okay, so well, let me try to share
Why is
my
the voice?
presentation.
Connect this one and not we here.
Okay, so are you seeing my presentation?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so I am Adriano Autino. I am the CEO and founder of Space Renaissance International. And SRI, briefly, SRI is an association founded in 2010. The main mission, oh, sorry, I don't know why this thing is going ahead alone. Founded in 2010, and our mission is to promote expansion of civilization into space. Personally, I was an entrepreneur during my working life in the field of software, real-time software for aerospace and other applications. And since the 1980s, I am taking care of the space philosophy, and I started to develop several concepts about space renaissance. The only way that our civilization of 8 billion people can have a renaissance is to move into space. So this is my main concept, philosophical concept. And yeah, I think there is not very much more than this to say about myself. So today I will try to communicate the main rationales behind the concept of expanding civilization into space. So why we have to go. This is not an option, this is an imperative, and I will try to tell you why. So, going ahead. This guy, or better, the actor that impersonated this character, the character is Harry Seldon, the main character of the Foundation trilogy by Isaac Asimov. Isaac Asimov was a science fiction writer, but also a scientific researcher. And he originated a discipline, study discipline, that is a psychohistory. It is a way to interpret history as the result of different psychological currents that are going on in the society. So I will try to explain why this period, this historical age, current age, from now to 2030 is an historic cusp. Then we will talk about energy, the so-called triple E, energy, economics, and environment. We will give some view of the space economy horizon before 2040. And last, why the civilian space development shall kick off now, or run the race to never start. So what I want to give you with this view, that I hope it can be readable, because it's, some characters are very small and fonts. However, is a map of the civilization risk. There are natural threats, there are anthropogenic threats, there are planet limits, and demographic issues. So among the natural issues, we can list pandemics, climate and extreme events, and cosmic threats too. Cosmic threats from possible cosmic impacts from near Earth asteroids and cometoids, and so on. But not only, also the radiation from sun and from cosmic radiation. Then among the anthropogenic traits, we have a pollution. It's very bad pollution on planet Earth, and not only in planet Earth, also in orbit with orbital debris. We have several false metaphysics, so concepts that are I say, anti-human concepts, like the Grautist ideologies and so on. Then we have wars and conflicts that are very, very dangerous and risk to bring our civilization to an implosion. We have economic crisis generated by the scarce resources that we have now for development of 8 billion people. Resources of planet Earth are very limited. We have social conflicts, and we have big migration also. So these are all threats to civilization. Then we have the limits of our planet, the resources shortage, and the energy crisis, very important. And we have demographics too, because our growth in a closed environment is a cause of many heavy social issues, and not only social, also environmental issues like climate change and other things. We have the risk of civilization implosion. If we continue to grow up in a closed environment, this is a real risk. And to start decreasing is not a solution. It would be worse than the evil. And yeah, population degrowth would be an acceleration of civilization implosion. So from this map, we can understand that the only way to go over the big civilization risk is to start expanding into the cislunar space and beyond. Problem is that the launch window, the so-called launch window, what Greg Mariniak, my friend Greg Mariniak, called the launch window to step to the star, for humanity to step to the star, could close very soon. And that's why 2025 to 2030 is a cusp in history. We have a mature space technology that can help us to move outside. And we have social, financial, and environmental crises that can keep humanity enchained to the bottom of a gravitational well. Humanity must invest in providing for the future before the travails of the present overwhelm our basis for rational action. So this is a conceptual view. There are not a scientific proven data, but to see why this age, this decade, 2020, 2030, is an historic, a psychohistoric cusp. So we can see that environmental and social crisis, that is the red curve, is rising very much. The science and technology are growing as well in a very good progression. People's growth on Earth is now over 8 billion. I think is 8 billion and 200 millions, and it is still going on, rising. The people's fate in the future is dramatically falling, because people is understanding that there will be no future if nothing significant happens. And so many people just think that there is no future, and they don't have any idea of the alternatives. So this is the why this is a psychohistoric cusp. So the 8 billion humans cannot make it on one only planet anymore. We cannot save planet A without achieving some planet B. You know that the environmentalist movement made a great narration about we don't have planet B, and trying to call people to save planet A. But what they didn't say so far is that we cannot save planet A without achieving some planet B or the equivalent of planet B. We are not forced to move to the surface of another planet, but we can simply build artificial habitats in orbit, in the Lagrange points, and so on. So this, we will see better this thing later today. Earth resources are not enough to allow the development of 8 billion humans. The electronic society needs more energy, and we don't have it on Earth's surface. Renewable sources, though useful, are not a true alternative. Increasing pressure of human development in Earth's closed environment, the pollution and climate change are threatening our freedom on Earth. Economy is in permanent crisis since 50 years. Resource wars, unemployment, social conflicts, and migration are jeopardizing the society. Pandemics such as COVID-19 threaten our human nature: socialize, work together, travel, love, and have children. Cultural decay in the closed world, decrease of freedom, democracy, and ethics. The real risk is civilization implosion. There will be a space age or a stone age. We risk to go back in history, not only of some century, but some millennia, probably. So the increasing pressure of humans in the closed environment, I think, is under the eyes of everybody. Several ways. Uncontrolled pollution determines a high risk. Microplastic and other wastes already permeate the sea. Poisoning the ocean is the means to poison our planetary life supporting system, which gives us oxygen and a great part of the food we daily consume. Extreme climate events kill many people and jeopardize economy. Possible rise of sea levels put coastal cities at risk. Possible new ice ages threats human life and infrastructures on the planet. Produce more food, air, and water by the same finite amount of materials is a miracle that science can make, but the quality of the products is, however, decreasing. So, many people say that we have to learn sustainability on our planet before going to space. This is false, completely false. Humans have not learned how to live sustainably on Earth, and we need to learn this lesson before seeking to create settlement in space. There are many people saying this thing. This statement positions civilian space development. This statement positions civilian space development in a hypothetical future, giving the highest and most urgent priority to a view at sustainability on Earth. At least, the two strategies should have exactly the same priority. The argument tends to split humanists from non-humanist space advocates. The first answer was given by Kraft Erike in his extraterrestrial imperative. One of the most irresponsible statements parroted ad nauseam since rational concern for our environment has exploded into an emotional syndrome, defines man as the only animal smearing his nest. Each animal fills its nest with the products of its metabolism if it is unable to get out of it. Space technology gives us, for the first time, the freedom to leave our nest in order not to dirty it. Do we humans need to learn to live sustainability in the closed system of our mother planet before to start moving to outer space? It is like to say that a bird should learn to clean its nest before learning to fly and taking its own waste elsewhere. None of the 17 SDGs will be achievable in the closed world. Humankind does not have any possibility to achieve sustainability on Earth if we don't start immediately expanding into space. To start expanding into space, it is a necessary condition for any sustainable development. Remaining confined within the limits of our mother planet, maybe we will have to learn again how to light a fire in a cavern, Moving the burden of our industrial development outside of our planet is key for sustainability, as is in the Jeff Bezos plan. Such plans can be considered unrealistic and untimely only in a redundant old space vision perfectly in tune with the use of space only for Earth, the so-called downstream. The priority goal of the planet savers, so-called, is to mitigate climate change and pollution within the closed Earth using space satellites for such goals. United Nations, at least in their 17 SDGs, include many social issues totally neglected in the narration of the so-called planet savers. The growth only leads to death. This is something we have to understand. Remaining closed within the limit of Earth's atmosphere, the only sustainable strategy is the Serge Latouche one, the growth. Serge Latouche was the author of the so-called Happy the Growth, it's a small book with an absurd philosophy. So demographic issues should pay attention to humans as a priority. Opposite, it has been managed with superficiality by the supporters of a green transition within the closed world. The supporters of demographic stabilization don't consider its real feasibility and the outcomes, which will be worse than the problem it tries to resolve. Only two options, growth or the growth, followed by the trend towards extinction. Working towards stabilization in the closed world will lead to the implosion of civilization. Cultural growth cannot move ahead alone without demographic growth. New growing markets are essential for social opportunity and improvement. The nursery of ideas can grow up only in a growing population. Actually, we could certainly state that the circulating money is not wealth itself. Money is just one of the measuring instruments of wealth. Real wealth is uniquely made up of natural resources and human culture, including scientific and technological knowledge and the working potential. So this statement is mine. I have written in my book, a greater world is possible. Humanity was never rich as it is now, with 8 billion human beings. What we are missing on Earth are natural resources, yet there's great abundance in the solar system. That's why we need to expand. There is a high risk of social collapse. The huge diversity of human types, according to their attitudes, types of intelligence, aims, and hopes, is the true richness of humanity. Such richness and complexity will be mortified and wasted if constrained within the boundaries of the closed world. In a world of social degrowth, neo-authoritarian social models will try to simplify the complexity by imposing monocultural solutions. The decrease of freedom, democracy, and ethics is a risk at least equal to extreme climate changes. Cultivating freedom for all and each of the different human types is the true challenge of this time. This process is dynamic, dependent by several variables: demography, availability of energy and resources, and mass psychology. There's a clock counting. Over certain thresholds, civilization could implode. A launch window to start expanding into space could close quicker than we expect. Space debris is a great danger, but also a great value. In 60 years of automated space activities, we have built a cage in Earth orbit. We have millions of particles and space debris. From the biggest one, more than 10 centimeters, that are 23,000, to 500,000 smaller than 10 centimeter, and particles bigger, 1 millimeter, more than 100 million. With an active satellite, operative satellites population of 3,500. This is an increasing big danger for space travel, but also a big opportunity to kick off the orbital industry, because recovering and reusing orbital debris and wreckages to build infrastructures in the geo-lunar space region. Then we have the cosmic threats, life-ending asteroids and comet impacts. The solar and cosmic radiations that are also reaching on Earth, but they are but we are protected by the atmosphere and by the Earth magnetic fields. What we are facing is two opposite possible futures. In a closed world, if we keep on growing in a closed world, will lead to decline and death of civilization through fear of the future, ethical regression, and hostility toward children, authoritarianism, tyranny, and barbarian, and so on. But in a vision, in a future of an open world where humanity started to move outside and to expand into outer space, human growth will lead to growth of civilization with confidence and hope in the future, with ethic evolution and peace, development, freedom, and democracy. Children consider the treasure of humanity, and philosophical openness with a fusion, a transcendental fusion between humans and nature. The reality is that Homo sapiens had a very great success on planet Earth. From the Renaissance of the 15th century to now, we had a scientific revolution, industrial revolution, and that means growth. This is the graphic of the population growth in the world from 17th century to 2000. As you see, it's become to be almost an exponential growth. So the outcomes of the industrial society, of course, there are plus and minus. Among the plus, we have technology development, economy development, mass health system, mass education system, social progress. Okay, of course, in the so-called developed countries, because a large part of the world still don't have this kind of progress. But however, let me say, in the world, there are parts of the world that had this kind of progress. Mass education system, social progress, human dignity, freedom and democracy, growth, and increased nursery of ideas. On the minus, we have overexploitation, pollution, waste of resources, environmental decay, alienation, and mass extinction of several species in the world, in the nature, let me say. So the plus and the minus in the closed environment generated a crisis that is now a global crisis that also generated wars, terrible wars, as the Palestine and Ukraine are the most let me say most important examples. But we actually we have 120 wars going on in the world. That is an increased number, very much. The United Nations 2030 agenda of the 17 SDGs is an infeasible utopia if contained in the closed world. A further development within the boundaries of planet Earth would be dangerous for the civilization and the environment. But how can we transform the utopia in a heutopia? Heutopia would be an heuristic development of the utopia. to start to start civilian space development, the only possible sustainable development, if it will start before 2030. Yes, we are in a rush. Let's see something about the energy, triple E, energy, economics, environment, because we have to understand this is one of the key problems, the key issues to go over the crisis. The reality is the rising energy demand and wars are sinking the green transition. The world primary energy demand is rising very much. And the oil and gas, so the fossil sources are still the main sources. And the wars deter and absorb large public investment. Transition current data is negative. The transition towards a green economy has slowed down. The ongoing wars have deterred and absorbed a large portion of public investment. The transition appears imposed from above, creating economic difficulties for popular segments of the population and unpopular change of their lifestyle. The green economy is slowing down. The oil and gas industry keeps on investing in hydrocarbons and only expands 1% in renewables. Several oil groups have revised their decarbonization objectives downwards. The automotive sector's switch to electric cars is struggling to take off. The ecological transition at this stage is stagnant and at standstill. The equivalent CO2 emissions should have decreased, yet they have actually increased profoundly and very rapidly. Transition phase is not broken. It has never really started to work. The European Green Deal is a major program of green austerities. The working classes and the production world are suffering the most. Ecological transition is a policy designed for times of peace, and war calls all of this into question. Despite significant capital invested, the substitution of fossil in renewable energy resources has not been achieved, and it is most a flanking movement. Renewable assets are growing at high speed, which is good news. It was to be expected that an immediate substitution with fossil fuels was not realistic. Yet, delay in the transition process reveals a tendency towards the non-diminution of fossil fuels. The acceleration of renewables does not actually block the development of fossil fuels. We are witnessing a parallel process that makes the obtained efficiency advantages useless. The world energy demand keeps on growing. There will be more sources to satisfy it, but all of these sources are not enough, and all of them will grow. The scenario of reducing energy needs does not work and has never worked. A slow replacement of fossil fuels with renewable is possible if and only if global energy demand decreases. And this is not just a question of wasteful usage. To run the growing artificial intelligence and electronic money, supercomputers and big data servers are sucking up ever-increasing quantity of energy. Storage is becoming mandatory to manage non-programmable power sources like solar and wind. Extracting and processing the requirement minerals and rare earth elements, cobalt and other elements needed to produce batteries, also requires a huge amount of energy. Such processes take place mainly in countries like China and Indonesia, which produce power mostly by burning coal. Thus, the amount of CO2 emitted to the atmosphere is actually increasing despite decarbonization policies. Therefore, the energy transition, the way it is being done, is actually backfiring. Any degrowth solution will produce huge social impacts. The electronic society, so much advocated as a means to decrease mobility, will become an expensive privilege reserved to the wealthier classes. Private transportation will be reserved for the affluent. The lower classes will be educated for collective mobility and to accept the authorities' ability to deem what is truly necessary and what will be defined as superfluous. Dictatorships and tendencies to despotic governments are already present both in Western and Eastern worlds. It will not make much difference if non-democratic social models are established in the name of leftist eco-green ecologists or in the name of rightist elitist ones. Result will be the same. Pervasive social elevation will be blocked for a long time to come, or more likely it will revert, bringing medium and low classes to lower levels. The alternative is moving to space. There is an alternative to this inescapable and narrow path. The problem might be non-resolvable within the limits of planet Earth. Yet the outlook fully changes through the innovative perspective of civilian space development, expanding civilization into outer space. Progressively moving many levels of industrial development into the geo-lunar space region will halve the growing demand for energy on Earth. And it will relieve Earth's environment, acting as an authentic green transition. Placing large servers and supercomputers in Earth orbit and on the Moon will contribute to the energy balance on Earth. Please note that such solution can be optimal for both true progressive people interested in social growth for all and for true libertarian people interested in freedom and a real free market. These two positions, which both share humanist ideals of progress, can survive and work together, of course, often discussing the issues. Another concept that it is born in Space Renaissance by the Austrian engineer Werner Grandel is the concept of a Lagrange space factory to be put, for instance, in L5. The structure starts with a rotating habitat for the crew. Along the central construction axis, the non-rotating manufacturing modules are built. The structure can be extended along the central axis. So this will be a structure that will combine zero gravity in the central hub and simulated gravity in the periphery of the rotating cylinder to allow people to live in a 1G environment like on Earth. But energy is the very key factor of the civilization anthropological elevation. Energy is the keynote of the current break-even of human history. Demand and the use of energy affects all aspects: economy, environment, social conditions, lifestyle, and evolution. World Wide Web is maybe the greatest technological and anthropological achievement of the last 100 years. Yet, if we remain closet within Earth's boundary, our civilization will be forced to renounce to it or to hard restriction of the use of the network to few privileged ones. Normal Earthers will be requested to stop even communicating for the sake of energy saving. Let's note that in the Kardashev scale of civilization classification, Kardashev says that the civilization type 1 uses the energy of its own planet only, and the civilization of type 2 uses the energy of its solar system. So we are now in the middle of this, at the beginning of this possible transition. And if we remain blocked to type 1, our civilization will not grow up in the scale, but it will go back. So there's no possibility to remain in the same for a long time, in the same level for a long time. So yeah, the Stone Age did not end for lack of stones. 50 years ago, the Club of Rome claimed that fossil fuels were going to end soon. If it did not happen, as known oil fields get exhausted and new research becomes convenient and new fields are discovered. But as Sheikh Zaki Yamani, a former Saudi Arabian oil minister, once said, the Stone Age did not end for lack of stones, and oil and gas age will not end for lack of oil and gas. Damage made to the environment is the good reason for abandoning fossil fuels soon. The transformation is already going on. Fossil fuels might progressively be replaced by renewables within a long and complex transitional process. Several facts are most important. The leveled cost of ground-based solar energy is now the lowest of all energy sources. Wind power is just a little more expensive. Coal-fired power plants are being replaced by gas-fired combined cycles Hydrogen will become in few decades a good solution for accumulation and dispatchability of energy. By reworking and reusing traditional power plants, we will have built a bridge solution from coal to renewables. This is just a part of a set of very complex transformations, yet quick progress is being made. Industrializing space is key, moving intensive consuming and polluting industries to space. In doing so, the energy needs of Earth will be reduced to the personal needs of the inhabitants. The long-term solution of the complex energy dilemma is moving industry to space, not keeping infrastructures on the ground and beaming energy to them from above. There will be, all the forecasts show that there will be a gap between, an increasing gap between electricity supply capabilities and the demand. This is a quickly ramping value. Data centers are growing up and requiring more and more energy. Renewables and fossil fuel sources together are not pairing this growing demand. Just to give you an idea of what artificial intelligence and big data are requiring, is this view, this sample. Computational power for sustaining artificial intelligence rise is doubling every 100 days. A per 10 improvement in AI efficiency requires computational power demand up 10,000 times. Energy requirement to run AI annual growth rate is from 26 to 36%. By 2028, artificial intelligence could be using more power than Iceland used in 2021. AI lifecycle impacts environment. The training phase is 20% and inference phase for 80%. Big data farms cause unbearable increases in energy bills in the surrounding areas. So to put big data servers and AI supercomputers in orbital and moon data farms could be a solution. These diagrams show how the global energy demand is exponentially growing since the beginning of the new emerging technologies, artificial intelligence and so on. So, summarizing, the energy demand exponentially is growing. The green transition has failed. Renewables are growing, yet fossil sources are growing as well. Together, the two of them cannot pair the increasing demand of electrical energy supply. The green transition strategy was based on the assumption that energy demand would decrease, but that is not happening. The electrical energy demand led by artificial intelligence, web communication, electronic money, electrical mobility, big data servers is growing very much, compromising the green transition. So a space economy is very much needed. A space transition is very much needed. Moving industrial development to geo-lunar space, placing big data farms in orbit and generate electrical power in space. So in this way, our civilization could grow up from type 1 civilization to type 2 civilization, and one day to type 3 civilization. That's the galactic level. Of course, we're talking about thousands years on this road, of course. Just to have an idea of what could be the space economy in 2040. We have seen that the forecast made by Morgan Stanley and other economists was the foreseeing of a 1 trillion worth space economy in 2040. This, by the way, this forecast is already exceeded very much, because the space economy is now estimated to be 600 billion now. So we are not far from 1 trillion, and likely that threshold will be could be achieved before 2030. But the real problem is that any growth forecast will not happen, will not be possible if there will not be a serious program for civilian space development before 2030. Because this is the only program that can support the global economy, and so allow all of the rest of the economical ways. So our Space Renaissance International Congress in 2021 made a forecast about space economy 2040 of at least 3.5 trillions, determined by cislunar industry, mining helium-3, oxygen, and water on the moon, asteroid mining, space tourism, cislunar internet, Earth orbital industry, Earth orbital intercontinental transport, and so on. And yeah, to be added to the usual space service, that is internet, Earth ground services, Earth space industry, government projects, Earth TV, and broadband. So the new space economy versus traditional space. There are huge differences, and I think this kind of analysis is very useful for young people that are going to find their path into space business in the next years. So the old space was mainly funded by public money, while the new space is privately funded. Old space was a classical supply chain driven by space agency requirements. In the new space, companies' mission strategies are based on own innovation ideas and goals. Science, telecommunication, and exploration were the mission, let me say, of old space economy, while in the new space we have space settlement and space industrialization. In the old space, space exploration was made by military trained explorers. In a new space, we have civilian space passengers and settlers. Expendable rockets are progressively replaced by reusable rockets. From mainly robotic space exploration, we are increasing human spaceflight for settlement aided by robotics and AI. All the space was controlled by governments, while the new space is independent from governments. Old space was too expensive for private investors, while the new space is now mainly based on private investors, thanks to the growth of the cost of the launch cost, made possible by reusable rockets. Old space missions were for Earth environment care by Earth observation. The new space mission are Earth environment improvement by moving industrial development to space. And the old space were characterized by high mission cost, distant future achievements. And the new space is characterized by cheap and faster access to space. In the old space, we had irresponsible proliferation of wreckages and debris in orbit, while in new space, we have policies for avoiding new debris and recovering and reusing old ones. So this was the turnover. Space economy in 2022 was 464 billions. And this was the the composition was of this value. Okay, the PDF of this lecture will be available for the students, so you can always come back and see these slides. So let's see, have a look to the paradigm of the old space. The requirements, okay, first of all, stakeholders were exploration, science, and telecommunications, okay? And all of this was managed by the space agencies. Space agencies give the mission requirements to the main contractor. The main contractor gives subsystem requirements to the subcontractors. Then the subcontractors give their work packages to the main contractor who made the system integration. And the main contractor delivered the integrated satellite and mission to the space agency. So the paradigm was high costs, long development times, public money, trained astronauts, prevailing robotics, full government control over space, monopoly of a few large companies producing expendable rockets, market driven by public institution. The new space paradigm is quite different. We still have space agencies as customers, and we have seen that the new space big companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin and others are getting contracts from NASA and other space agencies, and this thing helps them to develop their program. But we have private customers also, not only space agencies. So the space agency, of course, require make their requirements to the private investor, to the producers, but private customers give their civilian space development requirements to investors and the different producers, the many companies that are born in the last 20 years. And the stakeholders are very much more than before. We have entire humanity, philosophy, vision, civilization, expansion, settlement, industrialization, human space flight, improving Earth's environment by shifting industrial development in space, further exploration. So we have a high number of startups and new space companies working with the space tourism, low-cost reusable orbital, asteroid mining, interorbital transport and services, space agriculture, space debris reuse. So this is a very, very much bigger ecosystem that is growing, is rising, and it is making the space economy to be the leading sector in the global economy. The paradigm characters are quick, better, and cheaper access to space, pragmatism, business-minded, independence from governments, private capital, civilian space development, market driven by business and vision. And okay, so we go ahead if possible. Yeah. Okay, this is another, I think we already had the previous slide saying more or less the same thing, so can go ahead. Also this one, separate space program from the Air Force application, okay, collaboration with space aeronautics, space tourism, everything built on Earth and transferred to orbit. Okay. if you have maybe then some questions about that, we can go back. Now, let's try to go. Yeah, very important, the cost. The ground to orbit transport cost was about $50,000 per kilogram in all space age. In the new space, we have Earth orbit transportation cost about $1,500 per kilogram, and downhill with the Starship expected is to be about $100 per kilogram. So an epochal downsizing of the cost. The access to space with the space shuttle costed $200 billion. Access to space managed by private companies at decreasing cost according to the market growth is in the new space age. Cost of a satellite launch was more than 200 million for each, and the cost of a satellite launch now is less than 50 million, and the trend is to be under 5 million. Each carrier is a unique piece except the Soyuz in the old space, and in the new space there is an industrial production of standardized carriers. So this is a view of the decrease of the cost access to space brought by reusable rockets. As you see, we went from trying to move the cursor, but I can't. Okay, however, from $51 to $100 in the space shuttle age to $200, the estimated cost of Starship when operative. Explorers, space explorers should be the best friends of the space expansionists, because yes, exploration can exist without expansion. While expansion requires more advanced exploration, exploration is a military concept, expansion is a civilian concept. Exploration does not require industrialization or infrastructure construction. Expansion requires industrialization and infrastructure construction. Exploration can be done by robots. Expansion requires a consistent expansion of human settlements from Earth into near space and progressively behind. Exploration is done with public money. Expansion is based on investors and private companies with public support in the first phase. Exploration is made up of short round-trip missions. Expansion is based on permanent settlements. Exploration does not imply growth. Expansion is a process of global and progressive civilization growth. Exploration only gives technological return. Expansion ensures continued global economic and social growth. Exploration is based on the expandability of human life. Expansion requires a continued evolution of technologies for the protection of life and health. Exploration can exist without expansion. Expansion requires moving, evolving land-based jobs into space. So, okay, we are now approaching the last part of this presentation. And so why the civilian space development shall kick off now? We already saw this slide about the historic psychohistoric cusp. We explained it before. So no expansion will mean anthropological regression. If there is no new frontier to reinfuse hope and confidence in a better future, social fears will trigger conflicts and wars, paving the way to irreversible civilization implosion. We must transform our understanding of economic from distributing a scarcity of goods and services to fostering an abundance of the same. The longer we take to expand, the more difficult it will be. So time matters. The longer we take, it will be more difficult. Stone Age, okay. Here there are some repetition of something we already said. But important is the psychological social fear. If nothing will come up to reinfuse hope and confidence in a better future, will catalyze conflicts and wars, fragmentation of big countries into small new feudal regimes, and ultimately a general conflict that might annihilate the entire civilization in a giant holocaust, all against all. The fact that world leaders have not been able so far to understand and predict the obvious end of this process means that likely they will not act until it is too late. And when it is too late, they may make foolish decisions to rapidly limit the human size on planet Earth, according to the foolish concept of sacrificing a few to save many. We are still in time to prevent such a nightmare if meaningful steps are achieved before 2030. Yes, we failed and we are in a rush. Many supporters of the no-rush tendency think that humanity has plenty of time to expand into outer space. That's wrong. Civilization is nowadays on an historic cusp, and this is both a political and philosophical issue, and time is of great matter. As we recognize ourselves as citizens of Earth's global society, we accept co-responsibility for the failure of Earth civilization in the closed world. Space humanists, too, have failed so far to explain to the world the urgency of civilization expansion into outer space, to create a simple and understandable narrative of why, if we want to become fully human, we need access to a larger dimension of resources, space, and energy, beyond the limits of our mother planet, which has raised us so far 8 billion humans and more. Okay, so 3 possible existential choices. First, to do nothing and let ourselves be depressed, adhering to one of the many nihilist currents, blaming our human nature for the failure. Second, to remain out of any challenge and maybe fully dedicating to some art. That's fun, but not enough. Third, infinitely more challenging, a full assumption of responsibility not only for failure, but also for the necessary recapitulation of errors and the work required to bring a renaissance to life. So, okay, I think that's well explained, the 3 possible existential choices. We had big expectations from in the first decade of 2000. Why is not going on? Okay. Well, the 2000 here, what happens now? The world's main issues were incubating and worsening: pollution, climate, and employment. Reasonable political leaders kept on with same inconsistent policies of the previous century. Globalized information made more and more people aware of the huge social differences. Big migrations raised in intensity. On the good side of the Shin, the new space economy was moving first steps. The victory of the X Prize by Scale Composite demonstrated that low-cost access to space was possible. Several space startups were born, like SpaceX and Blue Origin. Space tourism has become a reality. In the second decade, from 2010 to 2020, we have the birth of awareness. What happens? More litigations. People become aware of the total incapacity of the political leaders to overcome multiple crises. Instead of collaborating to solve the big issues, geopolitics manifested a worrying tendency to become more litigious. Exacerbated conflicts like Europe, Russia boundaries, China and Taiwan, Middle East, and the 2 Koreas. About 70 conflicts on planet Earth made Pope Francis talk about a world war in pieces. United Nations blind 2030 agenda. In 2015, the United Nations delivered their 2030 agenda for sustainable development, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Fully unaware of the rising new space economy, such an agenda has no mention of space development. Yet, the new space economy was growing impetuously. On the good side of the Shin, in 2015, SpaceX experimented with the first reusable rocket's first stage and bootstrapped the launch cost downsizing age. Now, the third decade, we are in the middle, 2020-2030, failure of reasonable leaders. No more doubts, but no alternatives. People is now aware that reasonable leaders will not solve the problems. Reasonable leaders still moving on 20th century's agendas have failed worldwide. Therefore, people have begun voting for irrational leaders. May some visionary technical business leader also be endowed with political genius. However, people choose the only available crazy leaders, populist, nationalist, and extreme right ones. The total number of conflicts on planet Earth are now 120. On the good side of the sheen, SpaceX is developing the first fully reusable launch vehicle, Starship. Such development will downsize the cost to orbit of another magnitude order and opens the high frontier to private enterprises. Yeah, some words should be spent on the key role of industrial revolution. The global crisis is ultimately due to human growth as a species within the closed environment of planet Earth. Is that guilty? Yes, if we don't use our technology to expand outside. After the 1500 Renaissance, the development of science and industrial revolutions supported the great success of biological, sentient, and self-aware species on the third planet of this solar system. We called ourselves humans. The Industrial Revolution boosted social growth, mass education, and health systems. Human dignity assured by monthly income without struggling in deadly competition, or giving in to immoral compromises. Mass education systems have raised a new generation of entrepreneurs motivated by humanist ideas beyond dream of prosperity, like making of mankind a spacefaring species. It may be our sole possibility to survive and restart growing and evolving as a global civilization. Exponential industrial growth continued unabated until the demographic development of humans reached a dimension that is now questioning their sustainability within the limits of planet Earth. Once such a breakpoint was reached, the only possible scenario was a global crisis. That's what we have now, and it will likely reach a combined crisis point during the next years before 2030. Positive way out of the cusp, true sustainability shall at minimum encompass several dimensions: environmental, social, economic, and cultural. The common factor in all of these dimensions is development. The UN 2030 agenda recognized this in theory, but unfortunately failed to provide an efficient strategy in practice for development. All key indicators clearly demonstrate that no sustainable development is possible if confined within the limits of our planet Earth. This involution may lead to a civilization implosion and close the historical window for civilization to expand into space. What can reverse it? To announce great announcements and projects on the path of civilian space development that may reverse the general sense of impotence and give to the peoples of Earth the needed psychological fortitude to face the challenges of this time. With this aim, 106, now 112 organizations joined together to propose an 18 SDG focused on civilian-led space development to be added to the 2030 UN Agenda for Sustainable Development, Space for All on Earth and beyond. Now, a quick list of very urgent tasks: fully reusable launch vehicle, that's in progress, a first permanent base on the moon, kicking off the production of fuel in space by reprocessing big orbital wreckages, to begin experimenting with simulated gravity on new rotating space station in orbit and Earth-Moon Lagrange points, systematically test technologies for human life protection from cosmic radiation, building commercial rotating space station, start mining the moon and the near-Earth asteroids. Okay, let's go quickly. To bring space and science in schools, the history of space as well the history of scientific research should be added to all education programs, all levels from primary to university. We need to teach the history of love, not just of empires and wars. Our children have to learn the history of the people who dedicated their life to humanity for the progress of civilization. The 18th Sustainable Development Goals shall bring on board the great educational value. Okay, this is a map, roadmap from here to 2030, facilitate the development of fully reusable, safe, and ergonomic vehicles, facilitate best practices moon mining, facilitate best practice asteroid reflection and mining, salvage and reuse orbital debris, produce propellant in space, facilitate on orbit spacecraft servicing, build industrial infrastructure in the geo-lunar space, protect healthy life in space from cosmic radiation, simulating gravity, green environment, ergonomics, and comfort. Please see that these topics, these themes will be the key business and research themes in the next 5-10 years. So I think it's very important for young people approaching the space environment. If you will be able to bring a new idea, innovation in these topics, your career and your also possibility to make startups and to entering the space business will be guaranteed. Okay, space policy recommendation. Okay, go ahead. Okay. This is a list of references if someone want to go deeper in. So, okay, my presentation is ended. So it was long. I hope it was not too much boring. So, Kelvin, I give you back the floor. And if you have any questions, students, if the students have some questions, we can try to reply. Hello, can you hear me?
Can you hear us?
Hello.
Can you hear us now?
What's happening?
Yes, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello.
Are we audible?
Yes, I'm hearing you. So if you have some question, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much for that presentation. It's wonderful, and there are so many points that and many of us were trying to take down while you were at it. And if you observe, we were trying to just capture some of those slides. And before I will want to go over to questions, some of us here have questions. Personally, I do have questions. But before I will go over to question, I want to plead with you, if you can send us the slide of this presentation, it will be very, very appreciated by every one of us here. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, first of all,
okay.
The video will remain on YouTube, so it can be seen in any time in the next months and time. It's first thing. Second thing, I will make available the PDF, the whole presentation PDF in PDF format.
Yes.
For you to be downloaded and used for any purpose.
Oh. Thank you very much, because there was so much content. We're trying to grab some, but we could not grab some. We'll grab as much. So that will help. Thank you very much. Now, questions. Please, we want to open the floor for questions. So if you have questions, you can just ask your question. So who is going first?
You tell us your name, how old you are, and your question. Who's the first person? Joseph.
Okay, just stand there so we can capture you from the camera.
Shift. You guys should shift now, Pepe. We've seen, okay.
Okay.
Tell us your name.
Please tell us your name.
I have a question to ask. So, previously, you're talking about the space, and I especially wanted to ask, what is the space shuttle? Can you ask?
Did you get the question?
Through those community talking about the space starting with your eggs, what it is selfing. Yes, I see the question, but I'm sorry, I don't understand it. Can you rephrase it in order I can...
The question he's asking is I think he had you say space shuttle during your presentation. You want to ask what space shuttle is. Is that your question?
What it was, a space shuttle?
Yes.
Okay. The space shuttle was a program by NASA that has run in the first decade of 2020 from yeah, a little bit before, but however it was working for about 30 years, the space shuttles missions, and it was a partially reusable launch vehicle composed by 3 boosters, let me say, big boosters, and one spacecraft that can fly to orbit, reach the International Space Station with 7 people on board, and fly back to Earth. So this was the space shuttle program. It was not fully reusable. In the first version of the design made by Kraft Erike in the 80s, the space shuttle should be fully reusable. So the space shuttle should be brought to 30 kilometers altitude by a big airplane, and then release it and fly to orbit. This was the original 2 stays to orbit, fully reusable boat. But then it was the project was reverted to only a partially reusable vehicle, and that costed very much and contributed to keep the cost to transport to orbit so high. Of course, the space shuttle, however, was a great program that allowed to travel from Earth to orbit to the International Space Station, bringing astronauts over there, bringing scientific pilots, and so on. And yeah, it was, however, a great program, but it was not fully reusable, and that we see it as a limitation of the possibilities, because already in the 60s, let's think that in the 69, the X-15, that was a NASA spaceplane, made 200 flights at suborbital altitude, 100 kilometers more or less, over the Kármán line that ideally separates Earth from space. And that was the same concept. X-15 was brought to about 30 or more kilometers by a big plane, a bomber, and then released and fly to suborbital level. This was in 1969, so many years before. Scale Composite made the same thing in 2004, winning the X Prize with the Spaceship One. So it was the same concept, and we think that if the space shuttle was done on the same philosophy to be fully reusable, the civilian space development nowadays would be very much more advanced. But okay, we cannot change the history, of course. We can change the future, taking the right decisions.
Thank you. Next question.
You're welcome.
You have a question, right? No, let somebody else ask. They will come back to me. Please tell us your name and then your question.
My name is Adriano Vittorio. My question is, what are the energy demanded by AI and big data?
Did you get that?
Mechanism is and beta.
What?
Right?
We didn't get that.
He said the energy demand for AI and big data.
Ah, okay. Yeah. So you want me to tell you more about that?
Yes.
Yeah. So the point is that the big data servers are requiring a very huge quantity of electrical energy, and this is not sustainable. Is not sustainable locally, because everywhere where big data servers are developed in the neighbors, the energy bill is rising very much. So all the inhabitants are manifesting against this kind of installations, because it is driving the energy cost unsustainable for the people. And it is not sustainable globally, because the development of many big data farms on planet Earth will raise the energy demand very much over the capability of the sources to supply. So this is a big problem that we will see the development of this problem in the next years, and some signs are already visible on Earth. Yeah, in my slides there are some indication about the figures, the numbers of this high demand, and how it is expected to grow in the next years.
So are you in support of those who think that for us to continue to develop AI and big data, we must think about the use of nuclear energy as the primary source of energy? Is that the way to go, since relying on solar power for this energy, it's not sustainable in the long run?
Yeah, basically what we sustain is that the best thing would be to move big data farms in space. If we move big data farms in space, they can be fed directly by the solar power, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and so on, without any change in the yield of the power supply, because there are no season, no weather changes in space. You can get solar energy continuously with the same kind of same value of power. Don't remember exactly the figure, but I think it's about 744 watt per hour, something like that. But I could be wrong. Sorry. So moving big data farms in orbit and on the moon and in the Lagrange point would be a very, very great announcement from many points of view. It would mean to completely satisfy the energy demand by artificial intelligence and all the other the electronic money and all the other technologies that require huge energy demand. First. Second, it will be a mean to start working in space, because if we have to build a big data farm in space, I think it cannot be made only by robots. We will have technical people to go there and work, and so it could mean the beginning of a space industrialization, to have a first space settlement, industrial space settlement over there. So I think it's a very important thing. We will propose. We will make a presentation in February at COPWAS about that, a technical presentation about moving big data farms in space. And yeah, that will be made in front of 130 countries that are members of.
Meeting this time in February.
In February is the meeting of the Scientific and Technical Subcommittee of COPWAS, the Committee for the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. Is a UN branch. Is the UN space branch that take place in Vienna, in Austria.
Austin.
Yeah,
That's
Austria.
okay. Austria. February. It would be nice to attend, though. We'll talk about it. Let's see how it goes.
Well, yeah, I think Nigeria is member of COPWAS, so there will be a representative of Nigeria to all the COPWAS meetings.
Next question.
Okay, question.
Yeah, there.
Okay, tell us your name and then just ask a question.
Good day, sir. My name is Sebastian Marcus. I would like to ask a question. During your presentation, you said something concerning learning sustainability before going to space. So I need to explain why you said that.
Did you get the question?
Sorry, instead of something concerning. No, can you please?
Okay, let me explain. You said during your presentation, you said something about.
Yeah, about what? Sorry, I don't hear you anymore. Seems to be frozen.
Okay, maybe it's network. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Now the question she's asking is this: that you during your presentation you mentioned that a school of thought is thinking about getting sustainability here on Earth before venturing into space. She said she wants an explanation on that statement.
Yeah. Well, there is a current of thought sustaining that before going to space, we have to learn governing the issues on planet Earth. And this current is not only outside the space community, but also inside the space community. There are people thinking that space should be used only or mainly for Earth, for the climate change, for the pollution, for waters, for disaster management. So these are all good things, of course, that space is doing for many years for Earth. But that will not solve the problem, because what we at Space Renaissance say, is that only expanding into space we can help solving the Earth problems. Because in perspective, first of all, in perspective, human population will start growing in space, and maybe not to grow so much more on Earth. So the global humans will keep on growing, but growing in space instead of growing on Earth. So this will be the fundamental contribution of civilian space development to solve the problems on Earth. We don't think that problems of Earth can be resolved in the remaining closed in the Earth environment, because our growth, the resource problems, the environmental problems will waste all of our efforts that we can make remaining closed in the world as it is. So the only way to help Mother Earth to relieve a little bit, to take a breath, is to start going outside. So let's imagine a house where there are 10 boys that are grown to 18 to 20 years and so on. And the mother is getting crazy because she doesn't have room to clean the house, because all of these boys are closing inside and are making a mess and so on. So what will the mother try to do? Please, boys, go ahead. Make your own life outside this house. Make your own house outside, because otherwise I will die here. And this is the situation. Mother Earth will die if we don't start to go outside. We have to relieve our mother that has grown us up to here. But now it's time to go. We are grown enough. No, this is just a metaphor, of course, but I think it can summarize the concept. And
okay, thank you.
Next question.
Next question, please.
Another metaphor is the so-called pregnant Earth, because we think that the Earth is going to give birth to a baby solar civilization, and we have to help this birth, because this could, if that will be an abort, that the consequences will be terrible, and for not only for the planet but for humanity, even more. Sorry.
Quickly, your name.
My name is Purity. And my name is Purity. And my question is, what is the most potential, for exploration? Like, what is the potential of facing exploration today?
Can you repeat the question?
Potential is facing exploration today.
Potential need. Okay, the question is, why is it so urgent that we as humanity need to go to space right now? Because let me try to rephrase it. During your presentation, you painted a picture of like a closing window of humanity should go to outer space, that the window is closing, that we need to do it, and we need to do it now. So I think our question is bordering of what are the most urgent needs that why we need to go to space today?
Yeah, very good question. Yes, I think that the symptoms of an incoming civilization implosion are under our eyes right now, because yeah, we have terrible wars going ahead with many thousands people killed, and mostly of them children, and the society, the global society, seems to be even tired of this kind of things and is unable to react. I mean, not so many time ago, maybe 20 or more years ago, we saw big pacifist movements to go in the streets against wars. Now we have terrible wars, and nobody have the courage to say a word against. So this is a symptom of the status, the current status of our civilization. So the Armageddon is coming, let me say, and it will take the face of different crises, like pandemics, like wars, like extreme weather events, floods, and other terrible things, and firing also. Let's think about the fire in the terrible fire in Los Angeles of these days. That yeah, everybody is blaming climate change for these things, and probably they are right. I don't know. However, yeah, I think people is tired and doesn't have the forces, the psychological power to reply and to try to think again about positive progress of humanity. So what we need are meaningful signs that another way is possible. And that's why we say that if we will not have some of these signs before 2030, civilization is at risk, because we are now 8.2 billions on Earth, and all the problems that we already see are so terrible. Let's think what it will be when we will be 10 billions, and that is not very far in the future. With 10 billion people, the problem will be very much bigger. And the desperation and the fate in the future, the low, inexistent fate in the future will be dominant, and that is the real risk that the civilization is. So the civilization is now facing several risks, but I think the most important is the social risk, because desperation and the fear, social fear, and no faith in the future will bring to fight without a goal, that is, no, without any ideological goal even. We know that ideologies have made damages in the history, but however, they also were engines for development. Nowadays, we will not have any ideological goal, no objective, but we will fight, because the desperation brings to fight. Desperation brings to go after any crazy leader that will say, I will take you out, and we will the bad people to pay, and so on, all these kind of stupid things. So that's why we have to move. We are in a rush. to open the high frontier and to show a new horizon for development, a new rise of hope.
Okay, thank you very much. We want to see how we wrap it up because we have another program right about now. But I'll give you space to just ask one question, and then I'll ask one question, and then we're done.
Okay, good day, sir. My name is Obichukwemeka, also a student of the OGBA Educational Clinic. My question is about sustainability in the space. So I want to know, while it's important to achieve sustainability here on Earth before moving to the space, I want to know is there any challenges that we could face here on Earth trying to achieve sustainability? Are there challenges we have to face before achieving sustainability here on Earth?
Did you get the question?
More or less, yes. Yeah. Okay. I hope it was clear in my presentation that what I am saying, what we are saying, is that is not possible to get sustainability on Earth before going in space. And yeah, we also have a challenge to make space development sustainable in space and on Earth. No, so what does it mean? It should be financially sustainable, and it should be environmentally sustainable. So I think the main challenge that we have for sustainability in space are orbital debris. This is a big problem because orbital debris can really represent a cage that will make space navigation impossible if it continues to go in the same way. So to go there and get rid of mess, it is very, very important. Sorry?
No, we can hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly.
Yes.
Okay. So I think getting rid of orbital debris is very much important for civilian development, for the sustainability, and for sorry, and to have let me say a clean environment around the Earth. But the problem of space debris is basically the same of Earth debris, because nowadays in many places of Earth, people have understood that debris can be a resource because they can be used to generate energy, for instance, and they can be used to get fertilizers and other things and materials for building and so on Earth. And so we hope that the age of abandoning wastes in the environment is ended, and we understood the importance to collect the wastes and to reuse them. Same thing is in space. For 50, 60 years, we thought that space can be filled with wastes, and it was not a problem, but it is a problem. So we have to go there and get rid of this mess that we have made. Not only, but space debris can be also used to build infrastructure in space, to produce fuel in space, and so on. So it's also a very important richness, and can generate business. And I think ultimately that is the way to solve the problem, because if we only see it as a moral problem, it will not be solved. If we start to see it as a business problem, a business opportunity, then I think we will go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. We are grateful for your time, There's still a lot of questions, but for now, like I said, we have another program right about now. I hope we can keep the conversation going. By the way, I like your post at in our space start group. I always like this post, and I like to read your post. And then we also quickly want to talk about if Space Renaissance Initiative. Thank you for everything you're doing for humanity and for making this vision of space exploration a reality.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And please also follow our webinars. We have 2 of them per month. They are communicated on the Space Renaissance website and and on the social and so on. So it's very easy to follow. Okay. So thanks for attending. I hope.
Thank you very much. We are grateful.
Hope to see you next time. Okay.
Yes. I'll send you a Facebook friend request, please.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye-bye.